فإنه من يعش منكم فسيرى اختلافا كثيرا فعليكم بسنتي ما تنشئون حزبا.
As it relates to bid'ah, ikhwan, Ahlul Sunnah, they hate bid'ah. And they understand why they hate it. They hate it, ikhwan, because it is directly opposed to the deen of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They hate it because they know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam every Jumu'ah he would, as occurs in the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah, he would say, Amma ba'd. He would raise his voice and his face would become red, as though he was admonishing an army, as Jabir mentions. He would say that the best of speech is the book of Allah, and the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The worst of affairs are the newly invented affairs, and every newly invented affair is a bid'ah. And every bid'ah is a going astray, and every going astray is in the fire. They hate it because they understand that it leads the Muslims to hellfire, believing that they're doing good. And why shouldn't they hate that then? Why shouldn't they despise it? And so their stance then as it relates to bid'ah is that they warn against it, and they understand that bid'ah is not spread except at the hands and at the tongues, or upon the tongues of men. And so standing against it necessitates standing against certain men. And so they become defenders of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal with the pen and with the tongue. They stand against the people of innovation, ikhwan, with their pens and with their tongues. And they don't allow the spread of innovation in the ranks of the Muslimun, knowing that, as we mentioned, from its evils is that it has been the cause of the weakening of the ummah. Everybody's striving to seek a cause of rectification of the ummah, ikhwan. Standing against bid'ah and the people of bid'ah is from its causes. Since if the people return back to the sunnah, they return back to that which gives them strength as an ummah. It returns back to that which will bring upon them the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His rahmah, His nasr and His aid. So why shouldn't they stand against it? If a man, ikhwan, was in his home, and he, as the head of his household, is concerned with protecting those who are within his home, and not only the head of the household, ikhwan, the younger brothers, the brothers and sisters, his sons, everyone is ardent about protecting their household. And so one of the members of that household observes and witnesses a group of young children who want to enter the house to play with the younger brother. 4 children, and they're from one of the countries in Western Africa that is riddled with Ebola. Not that there is an issue with that, but he knows that these 4 all have Ebola. As far as the countries are concerned, then of course there's no problem. And the kids can play with the children from anywhere in Africa. Bismillah. As long as they don't have Ebola. But here these children, it is established and thabit that they have Ebola. And little Abdullah, the youngest brother and the youngest son within the household, is running towards them to play with them. And then he runs back with them following him. What is it that anyone within that household will do? He'll stand at the gate of the household, getting Abdullah inside. Whoa, 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 whoa. As far as you 4, then sorry, Abdullah is not playing out today. Assalamu alaikum. Why? Because of the fact that there is an illness and a sickness that will plague the whole household, and that will cause the death and the loss of life of the young ones, the elders, the head of the household, and whoever else. And so you would be foolish to say, oh, they're just children, let them play. Alaysa kadhalik. You'd be a fool to know that they have Ebola. I'll just let them play, they're just children. And wallahi, ikhwan, the affair of bid'ah, wallahi, is worse than Ebola. Bid'ah is worse than Ebola. Ebola, the most that it would do is take the life of that individual and jeopardize his dunya. While bid'ah, it jeopardizes the hereafter of those individuals, even if they live a sound life. And so by Allah, ikhwan, it is worse than Ebola. And so if we're going to guard and be mindful over these types of illnesses, then it is imperative that we're more mindful over bid'ah riddling our ranks, whether it is our relatives or our jama'ah or our community.